me soften the light a bit. It's still bright. Well, that one, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, I realize I might get different people since it's different time than I usually stream. And so hopefully this will go well, but I have the comments turned off just so I don't get distracted or off topic. Sammy is behind me, he is snoring. So please forgive the lack of polish to my videos. This is kind of how we roll. If you don't know who I am and you don't know the background, there are certain bits I might refer to that you might not understand. You don't need to know that, but if you want to know that, you can always go back to my featured videos or my testimonial videos. This channel is not monetized. It will likely never be monetized. Hopefully, I'm able to stream and people are seeing me, even if it's just one or two of you. So when I started all this back in 2019, I had went down to Florida from Ohio, come back, quite literally everybody I knew for years and loved as family, as neighbors, had pretty much changed overnight. Were they always like this? Did they just change overnight? Really? I try to just present the facts as best I can. I give you a little bit, obviously, of my own perspective because it's my story, but I do this because I feel like I was led to do it. At this point, it is so gratifying to see people right now on TikTok talking about things that I have been speaking to for 6 years. Everybody, like after this last eclipse, is starting to kind of see there's a spiritual war happening. But for me, it started back at the first eclipse. Demon syndrome, all those things are, in my opinion, damage control. Actually, I don't believe that. I know that. It's very odd for me to talk to a camera, so if I look away, that's what I'm doing. I'm just gathering my thoughts. Gathering yarn, as they used to say. So there's a lot going on in Ohio. When all this began, I had told you that for whatever reason, my loved ones either A, were tormenting me, or B, we were really in tribulation. Why would all of these people go through all of this trouble to make me think it is like the end of the world, right? And then I was injured. But before that, around like 2017, I was having dreams and experiences. And I'm going to point to one of those dreams in a minute because it was about a massive earthquake on this side of the States, on the East Coast, under like a near pretty much dormant fault that we have on this side. But first, I want to point to what is going on in Ohio in case you haven't heard. So President Trump referred to citizens as eating pets, canines, felines, in Springfield, Ohio. Now, from time to time, I will show you things because there are other things going on that you're not being told about as usual. Now, people are gonna not believe part of this video, but again, I believe I have a really good grounds for thinking and believing and knowing certain things that I do now. Why Ohio? Why is all of this stuff happening? First, you had the Palestine crash. Did that actually happen, or did it just happen in a Netflix movie and then they started using it in our media? I don't know. I wasn't there, but I can tell you spiritually since 2019, 2018, right after that first eclipse, Ohio got very weird. And when I was in Florida in 2018, there was a spiral in the sky then, and the water had turned red on the bays. Come back up here, and everybody was just different, all right? Now, I had talked at the beginning of this how I believe there was a Trojan horse already in America, and it was in the form of people of other cultures who were upset or angry with, I don't even want to say Native Americans because we're not Native, like nobody's really Native but the Native Americans, so that's a whole nother thing. But the way everything was settled, it was called New France, and that has a lot to do with what you're seeing now as well. But when this happened, when all of this immigration happened, there are people that are very angry and they are trying to start a civil war. It looks like they'll probably get it, but again, this is all spiritual. I'm a pacifist. I'm not promoting violence. I'm all for peaceful resistance and not participating, and that is key here. If you don't understand how to fight in the spirit and how to pray against certain things and how to utilize your consent and natural law, you're not going to be able to navigate the choppy waters that are coming, especially here in America. Now, you're being told that they are eating the pets. I personally am not going to say that they're doing that because I'm not there, but I am going to give you a little cultural background for what I believe is happening. I told you that I knew that back in 2019, my family, or the people that look like my family at this time, because again, it's a spiritual war, right? But I believe they wanted to sacrifice me. I don't know if America at this point is like a sacrificial nation, if we're going to be handed to the rest of the world basically on a platter. But if you've been following Ukraine and Russia, and if you're listening to what's going on with China, and if you have an eye on the stock market, you should be able to see that all of these things are coalescing. At this point, it doesn't even matter if it's really tribulation or not. It's looking that way and we're in it. So we have to navigate the best that we know how and the best that we can. Again, this is not physical. It is a spiritual thing. So I'm not going to say that yes or no, they're eating cats. I'm going to tell you culturally what I think went on. And this is from talking with people in Florida, from seeing the variety of different people move here off the coast, like away from the coast. We are not a place where immigrants normally flood, Ohio. But again, there's a lot going on in Ohio, and I've told you since 2019, I was pretty much told the Antichrist was here, but everything they're giving me is like in the wrong order. And again, they show us things, but they don't frame it right. This is how they operate, and I don't quite know why. So they're telling you that they are eating the animals, basically. Look, way back in the Clinton administration, it was known that the Clintons had this foundation in Haiti, all right? And they couldn't figure out where all this money was going to. And there were rumors and whispers. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Please don't come for me. They will anyway. Are already at peace with what's going to happen. But anyways, everybody knew, like it was whispered about, that Hillary Clinton was a witch, like a literal witch. And it was just known, all right? They had this foundation in Haiti, and all this money went missing, and all these people went missing, right? Now you've got this influx of people between Cuba, Haiti, and Florida, right? And so they can hop right over to Florida and have easier access to this coast, right? Russia is used to fighting in the cold and in the winter. It is not going to bother them to hop over to Alaska, come through Canada, and come down here to claim their prize. I just had to get that out. And over there with Hawaii and California, I still think way back when Hawaii got that alert, I think we've had a news blackout, a media blackout since way back then. And I think something went on with Hawaii and the coast of California already. But I think all of this has been like, we're only seeing news from our little sector or division of the states that they want us to see. But somehow things are slipping through because I'm able to make heads or tails of it. And I know some of you are seeing it. And it's finally so awesome that like people are talking about all this on TikTok. Like finally, I'm not just some nutcase, right? Like people are seeing this for a change. So you're being told that they're eating the pets in Springfield, that it's a dystopian thing. So if Hillary Clinton really was a witch and they really had this foundation and all this money went missing and all these people went missing, and then they built this palace that looks like a Jewish temple on Epstein Island, what do you actually think they were doing there? Rituals. All these people got together. They recognized that they had a common enemy in America and in English people who are culturally, even if you're just culturally Christian. Whether it's right or wrong, like this is what's happening. A lot of our men in America have been led astray because you get this influx of all of these exotic women, and like that's what happens. And much like Solomon, they're being led because, yeah, this juju, this magic, this voodoo, this Santeria that they all practice, it might work, but it only works because the demon wants you to give it something first. And it wants that blood sacrifice. And then it can operate in this realm. And so this is what we have seen since like blood over intent, since the Clintons were in office and their foundation was in Haiti, and all these people with the open borders. It is a cultural war, it is a holy war, it is a civil war, it is a political war. But most importantly, the one thing they're not talking about is the spiritual war. Now, these people take their religion very serious, okay? And I'm not here to crack on any of them, to be brutally honest with you. But they take their religion so seriously. They do their rituals. They pay the reaper, so to speak. They give to these spirits and these ancestor spirits and these demonic spirits, and they give it blood in return for whatever they want. Now, how much does that work? Again, the demons have another goal. They are using people as useful idiots at this point in time. Most people aren't talking about this. Most people aren't going to talk about this, but this is what's going on. It's Santeria, and there have been covert persecution and executions covertly for several years now. And I've been talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. And now tomorrow is going to be a big day, if I'm right about who the Antichrist is or who the spirit of the Antichrist is. Tomorrow will be a big day for that individual. I can't tell you why right now. I can't tell you how I know this. One reason, and it's a secondary reason, is because that was the original day that the Templars were overtaken, and all their massive wealth was overtaken, and they were disbanded basically. And they were ambushed by their own. They had their own Judas moment. I believe that the Templars probably were quote unquote good at first in the beginning, but remember right now they're calling good things evil and evil things good. So be careful with persecution and false accusations. This is why I'm not cracking on anyone that practices Santeria or voodoo or is paganistic in those ways, but I am here to tell you that Christ was the final sacrifice. That's the whole point. You don't have to keep thinking you need to do this to appease some God that doesn't even have, like my God is the boss of your God, pretty much. So you don't have to keep doing these things, but this is what's happening. I don't think they're actually eating them. I think they're exchanging. Now, when this first happened to me back in 2019, one of the neighbors that I thought was involved came back from a vacation down south, knocked on my door, and asked if she could borrow 3 nails. 3. What an odd number. And I only had one. And I'm glad I only had one, because once I started, again, looking back and putting all these things together, I think that was for some type of voodoo hex or whatever. And, 3 nails are allegedly how many were used to crucify Christ. And so I think it's a whole symbolism thing. And again, these people take their religion very seriously. We need to as well, if you are a Christian. Now again, it is not so odd that I'm talking about this, finally, after all these years, after my first channel was stalked into oblivion. I was stalked, I was harassed. In real life, I was canceled. I've been secluded, isolated, I've been alienated. My body has been violated, I have been abused, but all of that is to the good. I've given it up to God, and asked him to just do something good with my whole story. I don't know how many people are going to end up seeing this or how many people are going to hear about it, but it's just enough if a few of you find it from Barry and Jen, the first channel, to know that we started a lot of this, and to see what's going on TikTok, and to see people talking about this, and to see people saying, like, even regular non-believers, they don't know quite what's going on. They're saying, okay, this is happening in our town, but we don't know what to make of it. We don't know what it looks like. This is what's happening. They're coming to do what they did there, right? And if they're being paid, if they're already being given benefits, why would they eat the pets? That's not what's happening. They're sacrificing them. They do it to chickens. You've had celebrities like talk about this. Like, that's how they get their good juju. And that's how they get their stuff. But is it really worth it to see people die to have a few Happy Meal toys? I mean, for real though, like, this is a mess. Like, it's a mess. Anyways, let me get back on track. So what else happened? Now, in this area where I'm at, the last few days, schools were closed because of pew pew threats. Can you see that? Pew pew threats being called into the schools. So several of these schools were closed. Now, Springfield is in a straight line, like southeast from me, because I'm in the northeast. No, southwest, sorry, southwest. But whatever is happening is getting closer to like my area. I mean, I know it's happening. The AC is going to be revealed very soon. Now, again, in some part, way, or shape, or form, I helped to create the personality that said yes to this being, in a nutshell. And so if people hate me, I get it. At least that's how it feels and that's how it looks. And that's another reason I do this, is atonement. So we had school closings. Now, again, it doesn't look like much on the surface if you don't like know what's been happening with our bridges. Now, what else is happening in Ohio? Let me look this up, because I want you to be able to look this stuff up and not just believe, you know, what I'm saying to you. And I told you this several years ago. I said, watch, when they start closing bridges and things start happening, that's them shutting down our import-export routes and, you know, routes for groceries to get in and out. And I told you when TV began that it's like we're eating old food. It's like it was frozen and kept somewhere for a time. And now it's being given to us because they knew that trade was going to stop. I mean, just be real. It's not, that part is not an illness, a physical illness. And I'm going to get to some woo-woo here about earthquakes in a second, but I want to show you this. Now, again, if you look at all these things together, so there's a 30-day bridge closure coming to Ohio. Wow, a lot of them were closed like all year long so far. But this one is a route in and out of Pittsburgh. That's where I'm from. And so it's a pretty important route, but it's going to be shut down. The same way I told you that all those roads like leading to Pittsburgh were shut down too. It's like they're going grid by grid by grid by grid by grid, right? Town by town by town by town. What is happening exactly? I don't have all the details, but again, if you put all these things together, it doesn't look like anything good. And this is not to make you scared. This is not to make you believe me and pay me as being some type of prophetess or anything like that. I don't do any of that. It's just I'm some girl in my room and that's it. This is to try and help as many of God's children as we can, as many that are willing to listen. It's not just me. There's people going all over the West Coast trying to warn people to get off the coasts. There's people, a lot of women, a lot of us have had dreams and visions all the way up until this current time. So again, check the stock market, check all of these things. Now for the last, a lot of you know that there's some personal things that happened to me first, and it kind of gives me an indicator of what's coming. Back when this first started, for whatever reason, one of the clues that I was given, and I can't really tell you how it happened, but was to buy earplugs. And I couldn't figure out why. Is it hypnotism as I'm sleeping? Is it something loud? That's one of the things. When RT first got shut down, and I caught that video with the big person on the sidelines, basically the giant, and I clipped that and I showed you that, and then I showed you the earthquake in Mexico and how the trees were looking like some giant being was just pushing them over, but you couldn't see the being. You could just see the trees being knocked over. And then I showed you the Aleppo satellite from China. That same week, the wires, it looked like something just went like this and made them just like stop. Our communications have been shut down with each other all around again, but people are slipping things in so we see little things. So when I was told to buy earplugs, I did, but I didn't know what they would be for. For the last several days, my ears have been bothering me, and I have ear troubles like going way back. But I don't think it's me, and I don't think it's normal sinuses, and I'll tell you why. Because not just that, I've been getting like that dizzy feeling and that nauseous feeling, right? Um, I'm really sensitive to things and I feel them sometimes before other people do. And there's a lot of people like this. Again, there's people that are sensitive to electronics, and so they have to move out into the woods because, the signals bother their head. They get headaches and, real physiological reactions to pretty much the air poison that's in the air from all of the microwave signals. But anyways, it wasn't just me and my ears. My dog has been messing with his ear for the last 2 days now. And mine are bothering me, but they're popping too. And it's not just one ear, it's kind of both. And it's almost like, and I don't know how to say this without sounding totally foolish, but I told you there's a lot in the air right now. And I figure if I can hear angels and I hear God, the voice of God within, then it's very possible that, like, for whatever reason, because my ears are so sensitive and because I've had a lot of things happen to them, it's very possible I'm detecting a change in the atmosphere, or I'm hearing something coming. And when I had clipped that part from RT, there were camera people standing there who were of regular size, our size, who had headsets on. And that's been a big part of scary movies too. Um, and remember, I told you that you want to ground yourself. You also should make sure you have rubber on yourself somewhere. Static electricity has been crazy. You're seeing a lot of lightning without any actual like bolts. You're just seeing like this buzz type stuff go on. It makes me think of one of them old science plasma balls where the plasma would just kind of shoot. You need rubber to ground yourself. Rubber soled shoes, one of them, a couple of them rubber bracelets, whatever. And wormwood is bad water. Get yourself a filtered water bottle. I figure this is the best route, or buy some life straws, but I use this now already, and I pray over all my food and all my drink, and I prepare it all myself now at this time. I would recommend you all to do the same. And I want to make sure all this gets said in one video. The Trojan Horse, yes, I talked about that. I think it's very possible that while we had a Trojan Horse here with people of different cultures, that's kind of what I am. Nobody thought that I was going to go this route. Nobody thought that I would get called back to God. Nobody thought that I would be this vocal about it. And I faced a lot of pushback, to say the least, because of it. And it's not about wanting gratitude or anything like that. It's about telling you, if I believe this, if I actually believe I know the Antichrist, and I actually believe that he's here in Ohio, and I actually believe that there's like an unholy trinity, and I believe and I know that he has an unnatural affection, and I know, if I believe these things to be true, what other reason would I get up here and expose myself like this other than to pretty much shout out a warning and say, this is happening. It is real. It's not a joke. You need to be as serious as they are about their religion. If you don't want to be overtaken or fooled or deceived at this time, you need to be praying. You need to be pleading the blood of Christ over pretty much everything. If you don't believe, well, you should believe real quick. You don't need magic or any of that. As someone who has a background in the occult and someone who has tried a lot of different avenues just to seek God and trying to find that connection, it is there inside of you. All you have to do is quiet the noise around you and just ask, and God will talk to you and tell you all these same things. I told you it was the sacrificial season. I told you it was the season of exposure. Everything God has given me, I have given you, and it's all come to pass. So I have to tell you that I think the earthquake is coming very soon. It is going to be some type of retribution for something that takes place. Not just one thing, though. It's not going to be just our conflict with Russia and these other nations. And it's not just about the UN. It's about that, but it's about other things too. Now, somehow, some way, America is housing a big part of Israel. I don't know how this is possible with what we've been taught geographically. I just know this to be true. Some way we are Jerusalem or we are Israel here too. So I know that there are going to be places that are protected and people that are protected. But even if you're a believer, that doesn't mean you'll be protected. And even if the person next to you is an unbeliever, that doesn't mean that they won't be protected. You need to be praying. You really should be fasting, just because the stuff it's out there is trash. And for whatever reason, I have personally received food from places when I've went. It seems like all knowledge of proper hygiene has left the building with some people. And I know that this is not really what the Bible explicitly meant when it said people will become incontinent at the end times. But no, seriously, they are. Like they are. It's everywhere. And yeah. Anyways, the flies, you know what they're attracted to. The plagues that we are seeing in places like, if you look up Kensington, Philadelphia, people are losing body parts, and they're saying it's because of this drug. And I've never done that. I would never want to do that. God bless those people and help them and heal them. But this is serious plague that is happening because of the haves and the have-nots, and there is no in between. And that was like one of the biggest sins in Sodom, and that is one of the main reasons that happened to them, was because of their lack of charity towards their fellow man. And the opulence and just the excess. And you're seeing people wear their sins. You're seeing some big people get really big, and some thin, vain people get really thin, right? So, people are pretty much wearing, you're going to be exposed whether you want to be or not. Trust me, like, if this is going how I actually think it might be going, I've been exposed in ways like I can't even think about, because it is way too mortifying. And I think about it, trust me, if this is going how I think it is. But I also believe that there are a lot of people watching me who hate me, and they're just watching to, like, see where the chinks in my armor are. Let me promise you a few things. Number one, I'm a pacifist, okay? Number two, I pray for you, all right? Number three, I have made a very special request. It will be in writing, and I will make a video very soon about something that I asked the Most High, Creator, Maker, Father in Heaven, God, for my worst persecutor, the people who persecute me the worst, and possibly the one who may be responsible for me being ended. I have asked for something very specific for that individual or individuals, and God is good, and God has answered so many of my prayers. It says in the end days that not everybody will taste death. Before that, we are told every man shall die once and be judged. But in the end times, not everyone shall taste death. And somehow, some way, when Christ is being, right in Matthew, he's telling people about the end times, and he says, you'll still be here. You'll be here when I come back. So something's up with the timeline for real in that aspect. I don't know what, I don't know if they added on like 1,000 years to the timeline so people would just lose hope. Again, ignorance is their game. This is a game to them. They think it's funny, and their arrogance will be what brings them down this time, just like last time. Any truce that is had with me will go out the door if you harm anyone that I love. Like, that is done. And I've told God that too. Like, me being persecuted is totally different than you harming my pets or my children, or at least the vessels that housed my children. That's not going to happen. And yeah, so that's not going to happen. Anyways, there was a couple other things that I wanted to touch on, just so you guys know like what to watch for and how to manage this. Learn how to say no. It is so important that you understand that you have free will, that is a gift bestowed upon every creation of the Most Highs, and we all come from above, even if by proxy. If you were lied to, I'm sorry, but salvation is open to pretty much everyone, I think. And God made me this way with this loving heart. So please don't tell me that I should be damning other beings, because I don't do that either. That's not my job, and I try to stay in my lane these days. So anyways, learn how to say no. Saying no is key in all of this. This is why they tried to literally wash my mouth out with soap every time I said no. Learn how to say no, say no, say no. If you don't know the answers to something, say no. If you don't know what you're being asked, say no, right? If somebody's asking for your consent and you don't quite understand what's happening, say no. Don't sign anything. Say no. No, 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 no. Okay? Because they're gaining consent in all these wild ways right now, and they can't harm you or your things unless you consent to it, at least not at this time, not yet. Tomorrow, again, if I'm correct about who this person is or who this person was that offered themselves up to be this individual, tomorrow will be a big day for that person, because it's Friday the 13th. Like, there's nothing else I can say. That's all the hint you need. Because again, this is a spiritual battle, and I'm protecting people that I've loved for a very long time. And for now, it's going to stay that way until I'm told, like, certain things need to be said. Say no, I said that. If you have women, go with them everywhere. This is not a joke. This is not the time for young girls to be out at night on their own. However, a lot of the young people have been caught up in this. Occultism, again, you have different factions fighting the same entity here, and we got to get our stuff together. Anyone who is peace loving, anyone who loves like Christ, anyone who believes in the golden rule, treat others like you want to be treated, even if you've not always lived that way, right? We know, ideally speaking, that's what most of us seek or want, right, in a society. So give people the grace that has been given to you, but be wise enough to not let anyone new in your life. Don't let anyone you don't know in your house. If it's someone you know and they've been acting some type of way or a little off or a little wonky, don't consent to them entering your home. Don't take gifts from strangers at this time. We knew these things growing up. Like, we were taught these things, like, don't let strangers into the house. Don't take candy from strangers. Like, right now, all those things we were taught as children need to really resurface, and we need to be centering, like, our intuition and paying attention to, like, ding, ding, ding. When something tells you you're in danger, you're in danger. But do not run from any of this. Running, number one, symbolizes fear. Okay. Number two, physiologically speaking, when you are running or you are afraid of something, your body's going to give off a certain pheromone. I know it because I've done it. Even when I don't know why it's happening, I think that's when a certain entity is around. My body has alarm signals that it gives me. That's a whole nother video though. Anyways, think Nephilim and Bigfoot. That's all I'm going to say about that right now. And yes, Ohio is a big place for those stories. Again, you can think I'm crazy. I don't care at this point. It is just about helping along as many people as you can, because if you already accept some of these things, it's not going to freak you out when you see it. You're not going to go into panic mode, and you're going to be able to be like, all right, no, man, I'm standing my ground. This is my terra firma. I'm not moving. Like, this is where this is the hill I die on, basically. But you don't have to die, because, again, it's all about consent. We need to hold the line. Don't give them any more territory by default. And right now, Satan does kind of run the world by default because mankind believes it. And mankind said, oh, okay, well, you can have it. It's not his to give. It's not his to give. Like, it's just not. And I hear this taught all the time. Just because it was always taught a certain way doesn't mean that way is right. All right? He might own the earthly system. He might own the music industry, television, TV, all that stuff. He doesn't own the earth. Like it's not his, right? So learn about your consent and understand that you don't have to participate in things you don't understand. Now, this is the last part of this video, and it's probably the most important, and it is the one part that people are really, like, even after everything I've said, this is the part everybody's gonna, like, rail against. I am gonna give you a reason, but I'm asking you, when your trigger mechanism goes into effect, don't turn the video off. Be an adult and hear somebody out for just a minute or two. I'm not going to get weird. I just want to explain something very simple. There's a reason they want so many alleged Christians or cultural Christians or people that are just independent thinkers. There's a reason they want you to vote in this election. And there's a reason they want you to vote a certain way. I don't think elections matter. I don't think they ever have mattered unless you actually participate in them. What do I mean by that? Again, we are dealing with legalese, demonic energies, lower level frequencies, right? You know what a low frequency is? They exist, right? A lower frequency sentient being, they need your permission to do certain things. Let's suppose that in this election, you're voting for one of these entities. You're saying that whatever that person does, you're okay with for the next 4 long years. What if you're not voting for a person? What if you're voting for an AI machine? Now you're spiritually bound to this thing. Now, it was given to me recently that the voting is the last chink in the chain of our slavery. I don't know why. I'm not sure because I don't even think an election is going to happen. But I think it's enough to just go to try to participate. I don't know what to say and like what not to say. There's a reason they want so many to vote, and there's a reason they want you to vote a certain way, and there's a reason they want you to just show up. When you vote for somebody else, again, you are spiritually bound to that entity for 4 years, and any decisions that they make. This is not the time to get yourself attachments. This is the time to let go of attachments for very important reasons, for your physical health, for your mental well-being, and for your soul. For all those reasons, it is best if you don't participate, like at all. Don't participate. Oh, and there was one last thing. Shoot, I'm trying to remember. I'm sorry, just give me a second. This is a lot to like try and get out, and so tomorrow's gonna be a big day. I think. Like, I'm not making predictions. I think it will. Oh, okay. So if you've watched the channel or the other channel, or you go back to watch my testimony, this is a part of that. I was given a clue, another breadcrumb recently. And I can't tell you in what context. Again, I am giving things out of order as well. It's not just how they show me, it's how God highlights them. It's like a certain thing is said and like something just goes off in my head. It's like God put something there and I just see a certain thing or hear a certain thing and I know it's important. And if you don't believe me, go back to all the old videos. I told you what areas to avoid. I told you where not to go when all this started. So far it's all been right. Anyways, shoot, now I'm gonna forget again. Oh. When this goes overt, when this persecution is exposed, and it will be, because it will be like the days of old, it will be like Rome. We are dealing here with people who are of Roman descent and they worship the Roman gods. They also are akin with the Viking gods, the Titans. And the one thing all these gods have in common is they're all Titans, they're all giants, every group. Yeah, I know you might not believe me, but you know, that's what's coming. That's why you need the earplugs as well, because it could hurt your ears. Anyways, I'm not going to elaborate on that a whole lot. But when this goes over and when these things are made more public and they are exposed, because again, if you look at all of our sports, they're all like Roman coliseums. All that's missing is them feeding Christians to lions. And something very similar is coming. I think like if some of us are being watched, that's why we are like Running Man, we are entertainment. Because what do you do when you have all the money in the world, all the time in the world, and you're bored and you got nothing to do? when you make a game of other people's lives. Again, that's a tale as old as time too. It's been around since Sir Conan Doyle wrote The Most Dangerous Game about hunting humans. We've talked about that. That's what's going on in the national parks, and that the vests are to tell each other, hey, I'm in the hunting party, don't end me, right? Anyways, and it's also for the Nephilim to know who's off limits. I think that's why people are wearing the safety vests all over the place, because again, something has collided with our reality and not everyone can see it yet, and it can be really shocking when you do start to see what's going on here. I keep losing that last bit. Oh, so when this goes over, when it goes public, it has been made known to me that there will be public executions. I can't tell you how I know that. Again, you don't have to believe me. Just remember, we are allowed to flee, but if you do flee, don't flee in winter. We're just advised that that's like against, like you shouldn't do that. I'm going to advise you at this time not to flee at all, to stand your ground, especially if you're in America, to pray a whole lot over yourself, over your house, over the children of the world, over the homeless, because they are Christ's people. And if you degrade the homeless, if you degrade women, if you degrade mothers, if you're not honoring your own parents, make reconciliation, like, do it now. Don't wait. Don't wait till tomorrow. Do it now. Because America has been very lucky and very blessed. In our generations, we've never had, I mean, they say not, what happened with the towers. But again, a lot of that was symbolic as well. But everything that happened then is happening now on an uber magnificent scale. And it's all to make it so that the Antichrist's reign can come into like full power. And once that happens, then they are allowed to persecute. But again, read the right version of the KJV, because the older one gets a little more in depth and detail. Not the bad guys get theirs. I'll just say that. So that's all I have to say for now. If you're new here, if you thought that was a little too woo and out there, I mean, man, I'm sorry, but you're not paying attention. I pray for you all every day, all of us, every single one of us, even the people that hate me. And if you're watching this and you are an enemy, again, there's a very specific reason that this is being shown to you. And I don't have to do anything physical. Like, my God is bigger than your God. And that's just the truth. God bless y'all. Have a great night. Stay awake, stay aware. And the original reason, meaning of woke, stay woke. Keep your oil in your lamp up here. Be wise as a serpent and blameless as a dove. All right, I love you guys. Bye.